Hello everyone, welcome back to Newcastle Fans TV, welcome along. Right, the Champions League is on the horizon and so is a very tough home game against Brentford. The international break is done and dusted, thankfully, and we are ready for the return of Newcastle United back to business, back in the Premier League, and now the real test starts after a shaky start, a couple of disappointing results, but after a tough start. Let's not get too bogged down. But this is a test of Eddie Howe's squad management now. There's two very tricky games in the space of 3 days at home to Brentford and AC Milan. But before we get into that, did you know that Greene King have over 900 pubs across the UK and they are showing every single live televised Newcastle United game? They are bringing the action live to you, in particular at the Junction down the Haymarket in Newcastle upon Tyne, where we will be doing live watch-alongs, if you don't already know or you haven't already seen, throughout this season. So come and join us there at the Junction, where Greene King will be bringing the action live to you. Now then, Eddie Howe has some decisions to make. How do we balance this squad? How's the team going to look for Brentford? Are we going to see some changes in place? Which I think we will. The first thing I want to talk about is the forward line. I think it's a given that we're going to see Callum Wilson start against Brentford on Saturday. I really do. And don't be surprised if Harvey Barnes does as well. I think Isak will be saved for Milan. I think Gordon will be saved for Milan. Barnes hasn't had a start in the Premier League yet, and I think it's about time he did, to showcase his talents and his pedigree of getting goals and assists. He's got a very good record of delivering and consistently getting goals, getting assists, which is what we've missed, really, especially so far this season. So I think Callum Wilson will start. And if you look back to the end of last season, when we were having to play some very tricky away games, in particular in the Premier League, Thursday, Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday kind of things, when we were at West Ham away, when we were at Brentford away, we did see Eddie Howe not being afraid to make changes, in particular into that forward line, which makes me wonder whether or not, we're going to see Barnes. We're going to see Murphy, who hasn't really featured at all so far this season. He can fill in on the right-hand side. We all miss his smile. Almiron has been frustrating a few, yes. So whether or not he gets a rest, I don't know. Whether we see Murphy, Wilson and Barnes make up a front three. And in behind then, there's also a big selection dilemma as well. Tonali was sent home from the Italian squad with a little niggle. Whether that's going to be enough to keep him out of Saturday, I don't know. Will he be saved for the return of his former club at the San Siro on Tuesday evening? There's been kind of clamorings in the media section that we're missing Sean Longstaff and the balance he brings to this side. I think there is something in that. On a broader scale, look, the strongest starting 11 includes Joe Linton, Tonali and Bruno. There's no two ways about that. And while I mentioned Bruno, amazing that he's going to sign a new contract. I'm not having any of this nonsense about some of the fan base criticising him. And guys, he's the best midfielder of our generation that we've ever seen at Newcastle United. He's not going to give 10 out of 10 every week. It's impossible. He's human. He has emotions, like we've seen, which is why we love him so much. Give him a bit of time and he will show us why he is, like I say, the best midfielder of our generation in the Newcastle United shirt. One thing I would like to see maybe is for him and Tonali to switch positions in the midfield. If you cast your minds back when Bruno first signed, we had Shelvey sat in front of the back four pinging balls around, and Bruno was in the right-hand side of the three, linking up with Almiron, with Trippier, or like with Kraft even. Remember when Trippier was injured? And he was very successful at doing that. I mean, Tonali will be equally as successful sat in the back four. He's sat in front of the back four, and he's incredibly skilled and really surprisingly pacey for someone of his position. Like the comparisons we saw with him and Pirlo and whatnot, like Pirlo wasn't anywhere near as fast as what Tonali is. So I think that might be an option coming forward, but it wouldn't surprise me to see Longstaff given the start on Saturday. Again, Tonali being readied for Tuesday evening, because, look, many of us will look at that group and think getting something at Milan is probably our best chance of getting something from a Champions League away day. And you're right. I would absolutely agree with that, it is. But they've still got a lot of players that can hurt us. Their left-hand side is absolutely incredible. Theo Hernandez, Rafael Leao. My word, Trippier's got his hands full that night. Which is why I think Miggy will definitely start on Tuesday and maybe rested for the Brentford game, because Miggy does the hard work tracking back, he does the hard yards, and he's full of energy, full of pace, and can hurt on the counter, which we kind of saw if you look back at Brighton, not the game just gone, thankfully, but Brighton at home towards the end of last season, making them late 2 goals with some fantastic runs on the counter, leaving players behind. So I think that's what could happen. Looking at the defence, don't be surprised if Fabian Schär gets dropped. And the reason I say this was he was very, very lucky not to get a red card against Brighton. Tariq Lamptey saved him by not going down. And some of the things Schär did, in particular for one of the goals, very lazy, very lacklustre, head had gone, which was the kind of attitude we saw from him occasionally under Steve Bruce and when games had gone and heads had gone. So don't be surprised if he's dropped. And I could see it being a Dan Burn, Jamal Lascelles centre-back pairing for Brentford. Make of that what you will. Obviously, if Sven Botman's back, he comes in and plays. If he's 100% fit, he plays both games. He's our best centre-back by far. So that's a given. And we all terribly miss Sven Botman when he's not playing, because he does make a big difference. Whether or not, if he's not fit, we'll find out in Eddie Howe's press conference Friday morning at 10, which is after I've recorded this. So hopefully he gives us the good news and Botman is back. But still, don't be surprised to see Jamal Lascelles start. If Botman's fit, Burn will revert to left back. And Botman will take up his place in the left-hand side of the centre-back pairing. If he's not, does Targett continue? Did okay against Brighton, but I know, myself included, want to see Lewis Hall start there. Or another option is, of course, as we saw with England on Tuesday night at Scotland, Trippier is a more than capable left-back, and that could fill a gap for Tino Livramento to fit in at right-back as well. So there's plenty of options for Howe. How does he manage his squad during these congested fixture periods? Because this is where it starts, in essence. A lot of games coming fast. Champions League, Premier League, Carabao Cup at home to Man City. Let's not forget that. So get your comments in with your thoughts, with your lineups for both games, for Brentford and AC Milan. We'll be at the Junction Tuesday evening for the Milan watch-along, as I mentioned, at the Green King. Johnny, Harry, and of course Lee are at the San Siro, those lucky devils. So plenty of stuff coming your way. So smash the like video, subscribe to Newcastle Fans TV, and see you soon.